This is the Houndsman XP Podcast.
Good dog, get that bear. Get that bear in
The original podcast for the complete Houndsman.
Look at your Toto, go, Justin, We're gonna get him,
The podcast that represents our lifestyle of extreme performance.
Get him there! Get him! Get him! Yeah, good boy! Come on, Ranger!
Uniting houndsmen across the globe, from east to west, north to south.
You know, if you're going to catch a cat or a lion, you know, you have to have teamwork.
We take you to the wildest places on earth.
Yeah, so how many days a week can you spend out there?
As much as I can, to be honest with you. Anytime that I get, I'm out there.
Join us for every heart-pounding adventure on Houndsman XP.
I'll tell you like I tell everyone else, I'm going to hunt whether you're here or not, so you might as well be here.
Hey, Hound Doggers. Welcome to this week's episode of Houndsman XP. It's me, Seth. I'll be taking you guys for a really fun ride this week. We're going to be doing another installment of your favorite dog of all time. I go around the Houndsman community and I interview all these cool people from Houndsman XP's fan base, and I ask a simple question. Tell me your name and the name of your favorite dog of all time. We got a really good crowd this time, you guys. Some real friends of Houndsman XP. So I want to thank everyone who's joined me on these segments of your favorite dog of all time. And if you want to join me as well, just reach out to me on Facebook Messenger, Instagram Messenger, or seth.houndsmanxp@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you guys. I want to make a quick, very heartfelt, and very sincere message. You guys know about the flooding in Appalachia and how devastating that's been for the communities there. And thanks to you guys, with your support, the fans of Houndsman XP, the friends of Houndsman XP, we've raised almost $10,000 in relief aid for the community in Appalachia, the entire area that's been affected by this flooding. So this is all because of you guys, the fans. You guys stepped up and helped out Houndsman XP support these people that could use the help. These are our fellow Americans. And in these polarized times, it's so easy to forget that these are our people. These are hardworking Americans just like you and me who got struck down by terrible, bad times and are now getting a helping hand from us here at Houndsman XP. You guys, the fans that stepped up to really help them. So thank you, you guys. We have the best fans in the world, and we really appreciate every single one of you that's listening. And to all those that helped out at the flooding aid event that we put on, we thank you. And if you want to pitch in to help the continuing effort to help Appalachian flood victims, go to houndsmanxp.com. Right there is a banner you can click on, and you can donate aid, financial aid or items, whatever you guys think would be beneficial to these people that have lost everything in the floods. So again, you guys, houndsmanxp.com, click on the banner and support Appalachian flood victims through Houndsman XP. We really appreciate you guys. We appreciate everything you do, your listens, your patronage, and now your support of fellow Americans. So we hope to see you guys there. Enjoy this episode of your favorite dog of all time, and I'll catch you guys next month. Tell me your name and the name of your favorite dog of all time.
My name's Robert Balzer, and my favorite dog of all time is a dog I call Highway.
What kind of dog is Highway?
He is an American Staghound.
What game does an American Staghound hunt?
Coyotes is what I use him for.
Okay, is he what's his style? So to listeners that have no idea what a Staghound is, break it down how you hunt him.
He, I drive a truck and have a dump box, and I have him and usually two other hounds with him in the box. Purely by sight, we drive around, we see a coyote, pull the cable, dump the box, and the dogs do the rest. Run out there, take the coyote out, short fight, and it's all over.
Yes, coyote dogs. If you guys remember, we had an HXP TV episode with Randy Tivis, a Southwestern legend, and we got to see his coyote dogs do exactly that. So good to have another sighthound hunter on, brother. Thanks for joining me.
I appreciate the invite.
So tell me about what made Highway so special.
Well, Highway kind of came to me. I was at a dog race, and a fella I didn't know showed up with a 4-wheel drive Ford, and he had a stock trailer full of puppies. I went over and struck up a conversation with him. His name was Rex Hart. He's from Nebraska there. Found a couple of pups I liked. Some other guy was trying to make a deal on them. That deal fell through. I stepped in, was able to make a deal, and I brought them home. They were probably 16 weeks old. I got him and his brother, actually. Started them the first year. Took right to it. Natural, just coursing. They would run well. They fought well. Just an all-around good dog. From there, his brother actually had an injury, broke a front leg the first season. So I ended up rehoming him to a lady here that I use to take my cripples and my old dogs, so I don't have to put them down. She actually got him a home, so he was in a pet home. But I still had Highway. And interesting fact, his name when I got him wasn't Highway. Rex called him Obama. He's a reverse brindle, real dark dog. I didn't like that name from the start, so I actually named his brother Pharaoh, and then Highway was called Sphinx, kind of the Egyptian.
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
Highway earned his name on a hunt one day. We were out south of where I live here, and about a mile off of interstate or Highway 77. It's a 4-lane highway that goes through where I hunt. And the coyote come out of a drainage, and I sent the dogs with a mile to run. And typically, our races around here don't last that long. Well, this coyote happened to be pretty wily. About the time they'd close the gap and reach for him, he'd switch direction. They got to the highway, and he ran right in the side of a car.
Oh my God!
Of course,
that's one of my greatest fears.
Yeah, I'm freaking out, thinking that I've just lost my best catch dog. I get over to where he's at. He's walking around, jumps right in the box. Turn around, and the motorist had actually stopped. And out of the passenger side of this car steps out a man who's probably about 6'8", 350, 375. And I thought I was a dead man. He walked over to me and he said, "Is your dog okay?" And I said, "Well, he jumped in the box. He seems to be all right." And he says, "Well, good." He says, "Because that was probably the coolest thing." He says,
awesome.
"But I can't tell my girlfriend that he's going to get hurt." She said she has to know he's okay. And had a great conversation with him. He'd actually rode with a coyote hunter years before, and they'd hit a ditch, and he got knocked out, and the whole 9.
Oh, yep, that's coyote hunting.
But instantly, his name was in Highway. It fit him. That whole chase, other than when he struck the car, my cousin actually has on video. So it's kind of out the window of a truck, so it's pretty shaky.
Oh yeah.
Her commentaries, she's kind of panicking. She knows they were going to get hit, but it was pretty busy, and so yeah, that's how he got his name.
Awesome.
And I laid him off for probably about 2-3 weeks. He acted like he wanted to go, so I loaded him up. And honest truth, not a lie, he didn't miss a single coyote the rest of the season. He caught everything I put him after.
Nice.
I guess he learned his lesson.
How old is he now?
He'll be 8.
Okay, yeah. So I got a trooper that's coming up on 7. My best dog of all time. So it sucks they got to get old. It really, really bums me out.
Yeah, and he hit a ditch, and this was totally my fault, about 3 years ago, and shattered a front leg. Vet tried to fix it. I was of the mind it was going to have to be amputated. We went through 6 weeks of rehab, and he threw the cast off, and it immediately rebroke. So after 6 weeks of rehab, then we amputated. He still goes. I still load him in the back box. I don't dump him.
Yeah, of course.
When I get a coyote caught, I'll send him out and let him
Let him just do his thing. Yeah.
The drive's still there.
Of course.
Pass on the seed for a future generation.
I was going to ask, have you bred him?
I have 2 litters. One of them was a fellow by the name of Chuck Warner up in northern Kansas. He used him to breed to a female. My cousin got one of those pups, and unfortunately that dog passed. There's a few around. I don't know who all ended up with those. And then I went in partners with a fella named Jason Grubbs out in western Kansas. We bred him to a Gable Dodge hot blood female that he had. And I got that
speed.
I call Boone, kind of a yellow brindle. I've shared him a lot. He's one.
Yeah, he's a really good looking dog. Yeah.
That's a highway son out of a Gable Dodge female.
What's your plans with the half hot blood? Why you just want more speed?
Yeah, it was something we wanted to try. I like hot blood. I like, and highway has some hot blood in him. I like to add hot blood into my stags. I think you get the fight from the stag side and the speed from the hot blood. It works for me. Trying to keep them where they have enough structure to where you don't have a lot of injuries and stuff, but yet you have that little bit of additional speed.
That's the problem with hot bloods. You start adding hot bloods to things and your durability is going to plummet. Your speed increases at a meteoric rate, but man, their feet are just glass. That's where I get real nervous dancing around with hot bloods. Yep.
I've had pretty good luck. You know,
rough ground or nah?
Yeah, we have some. I mean, we're not running a lot of rocks. I mean, out where you guys are at, it probably wouldn't work as well, but a lot of pastures, got some rocks in them, but nothing like high desert and stuff out west.
Yeah.
The guys up in the Flint Hills north of me, they got to have a little bit tougher dog than that, but half and half or a little more works pretty well for us.
Gotcha. Tell me your favorite hunting story with highway besides the one you told already. Tell me the chase that you were just like, highway, I love you, man.
There is, I actually have this one on video as well. There's a coyote that comes out, and we actually had snow, which we used to get quite a bit of, but now it's few and far between. But there was a day that it snowed, and I was actually supposed to be at work. Told my immediate boss, but I didn't tell the big boss. Told the immediate boss I was going to take a few hours to go try and catch a coyote. And this coyote comes out on my side of the road. And then crosses the road in front of me. And as soon as he crossed the road, I sent the dog. So they were a little ways behind him. And in the viewfinder of the video, you can see the coyote running just very well because of the snow. And then all of a sudden, you just see this black form enter the frame and just reel that coyote in. And that is probably my favorite chase, just because you got to see how fast he could close on a coyote. And just do what he was supposed to do.
I love that, man. I had a race. It's actually on the Patreon page, and it's on HXP TV of one of my Salukis reeling in a long rabbit like that. He got a huge head start, a big break on the pack, and he just took off way out ahead of everybody and reeled that sucker in. Comet, you rule.
I love watching that Comet dog run.
He's great, man. I love that guy. He's definitely in my top contender. Pronto is my number one, but Comet, he's definitely close up there. It's a toss up. They're so different. But anyway, it's not about me. But anyway, yeah, Comet, he's really rad, and I love when game starts when a game is just way out there. And of course, this is to my sighthound hunters, but when something is just a blur in the distance and you just see your form of your dog just closing, you're just like, yes, it's a great feeling. I love it. Tell me, you everybody knows our best dog strengths. What's one thing about highway that you would think was a weakness? It's a hard question. The only thing that I had a problem with, and I kind of fixed it with a little bit of a shock collar action. He has a tendency to get excited, and he'll whine in the box. Not really. Oh, yeah. It's more of a howl. Mm-hmm. As soon as he'd catch a coyote in the morning, he wouldn't do it the rest of the day. But man, he was so amped up when we got him out of the pen and got him ready to go. It was just constant until you got him out on a coyote. So, I started putting the shock car on him. A lot of guys don't like using them. They think it starts dog fights. This dog, I just bump it a little bit. He quit. Yeah, totally. Just bump him.
If I put it on him now, I don't have to use it.
Yep,
he knows
exactly.
If I leave it off of him, I got the problem.
Yep.
And
They learn fast.
I like a quiet box. I don't like any noise back there until there's something out there to go after.
I was going to say, do yours get to screaming when they see a coyote, though?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they let you know.
That's good.
Yep.
I have 2 silent dogs now. My 2 Salukis, they don't make a peep when they see a rabbit. And so, we're driving out on those grasslands, and sometimes the hare will appear behind us or off to the side where I can't really see it. And I'll just hear like the thump of their chests like hitting the box. And that's the only way I know. And so my 2 greyhounds, they scream bloody murder when they see a hare. They're just like, ah! And I'm like, okay, cool, go. But the only thing they bark at is when they see an antelope, which I'm like, my Salukis, I'm like, don't chase that, you idiots. But
I used to have my dogs broke to deer where they wouldn't make a sound. I mean, they could run right by my pickup and nothing. But anymore, it's like either I've gotten lazier or I just don't care as much. They will announce deer and everything else.
Yeah, mine get to screaming. At some point, I'm just like, that's why they're in the box. It's just like, whatever, And after you've drove around for hours and nothing happens and they get to screaming, it's good to get your heart rate up, even if it is a stupid deer.
That's true. That is true.
Well, Robert, hey, you've been a long time friend of Houndsman XP, and I was really excited to have you on, a fellow sighthound hunter and a longtime fan. So thank you so much for joining me, buddy. I really appreciate it.
Hey, anytime. I appreciate the invite. Love talking about what we do.
Absolutely.
Support. And like I said, appreciate the invitation to talk about my dogs.
Thank you for joining, man. We'll talk again soon.
All right. Thanks, sir.
Check out Cajun Lights, your complete dog hunting outfitter. Tracking equipment, leashes, collars, dog supplies, and much, much more. You can find it all at CajunLights.com. And don't forget their outstanding lineup of lights. You can find it all at CajunLights.com.
Tell me your name and the name of your favorite dog of all time.
I'm Garrett Rogers. It's kind of a tough one. I got 3 different breeds I kind of really like. I grew up with, I guess a lot of people call them stag hounds. We used to call them greyhounds, but it's kind of toss up between that or a beagle. Might just have to go with the old greyhound. They've been pretty good dog. I enjoy having them around. And
good choice.
Nice breed. Yeah, I forgot you'd probably really like that one.
I love beagles too, though. So it's a hard one. It's a hard one.
Yeah. When I was younger, actually, in high school, we did that to make a little extra money. Is raised beagles for pets and sold them, and just the pups, and they're nice hard hunting dog.
So, what's the name of your favorite greyhound of all time?
Ooh, my dad had a couple. He had a pair of them. They're litter mates, Ace and Streak, and those two were pretty good. They did everything and got everything done, just them 2 alone on some coyotes, and they're just good all around dogs.
What qualities made them so good? There's a lot of good dogs out there, but what made them great?
Just my biggest thing I like in a dog, and I thought really made them great, is they're just love what they do, and they give you 100 and 110% every time. I got a scent hound now that I'm pretty fond of, that he's maybe halfway through his age, and that pretty fond of, just because that factor that I can run him all day, every day, and he could be on his deathbed, and I feel like he's still gonna want to go and give me 110%.
So those dogs are your dad's. Are they still alive, or is this quite a ways in the past?
Quite a ways in the past. That was when I was younger, so 10, 15 years ago, probably 15 to 20 more like it.
Of the 2, which one was your favorite?
Maybe Streak, the female. She's just her demeanor a little bit more, and just her colors a little more friendly, and not that the other one wasn't friendly either, just a little bit more, just
She had an edge on her. Yeah. So,
yep.
Did you breed those? Did you breed Streak?
Yeah, Dad did. So Dad came from our bloodline. He's kept the bloodline going. I don't know. Last time I asked him, I thought he said 50, 60 years now. He's kind of had the same bloodline going and mixed some other stuff in with it. And I think that's kind of cool, and I'd like to keep that going myself too.
Do you think that Streak's offspring, that bloodline, kept her greatness, or do you think she was a one-off freak of nature?
I guess it's hard to say. You breed other dogs that are similar, that do kind of the similar things to improve, and just kind of keep that going as well. And so it's always hard to say. You'd like to think so, and like get that favorite dog, and like to say, well, it comes from that dog. That's where it came from,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So this is a question I like to ask everybody. Tell me the moment that you remember when you saw Streak and you were like, this is the best dog I've ever seen. Tell me about that race or that moment or what happened.
It's probably, I think it was Christmas Day or Christmas morning. We were out hunting before church, and we went out, and they just had a real long race, a couple long races that day, because it was, when I was younger, there's very few coyotes around. We mostly hunted fox, and it's kind of rare or lucky to see or get a coyote at that time. So they weren't as populated. And yeah, I think it was Christmas, like I said, Christmas Eve or Christmas morning, we went out, and those two dogs went and caught two of them, and they're just a couple of real long races and fought hard, and just kind of blew your mind. Is one of those days that just couldn't believe that they went out and did that and had that long race and able to fight that hard and get it done.
So were these hairy greyhounds or these cold blood greyhounds? Were these stags or I couldn't remember if you said they were shags or not. Yep.
These ones, they were more stag, hairy ones. They're both kind of grayish colored. We do kind of have a little bit of both. We got some cold bloods too, and I guess I don't know. I'd like to take a DNA test sometime and just see kind of what's in them. Take it to the vet and see what they got, and especially having the same bloodline for so long. That had a guy that had that done, and there's like 5 different breeds in there, and 2 or 3 of them I just didn't really believe that I'd be in the stag cross.
What were they, if you don't mind I ask? Because I've had those DNA results come back pretty wonky.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly. I know there's Greyhound, Irish Wolfhound, some Saluki. I can't remember the other ones. They're sight dogs and stuff too. But
okay. I thought you were going to say like Chihuahua and Labrador.
No. You never know though. Some of those weird crosses, you just don't know. They could turn out good too.
So let me ask you, when you had more foxes, did you hunt foxes the same way you hunt coyotes now with scent hound, sight hound combo?
We didn't. So I was always told my grandpa, he grew up, he'd go out on horseback with 2 greyhounds and chase hares or jackrabbits.
Yep, he knows what's good.
Was in there. Yep, that's all that was in the area. And then the fox came around, so they said, "Yep, we're gonna start hunting them." And then the coyotes came around, the same thing. And they've always, I grew up, they just a lot of times, actually, when I was younger, I'd be the one doing the grunt work. We'd walk through the sections to get them up and out, and either just walking and yelling or with a gun and shooting a little bit to scare them, or sometimes just drive next to it with a vehicle and shoot in there and get them to come up and then get them to the road. And up until 5-10 years ago, it just doesn't work that way no more. Times have changed. Coyote, they're a lot smarter animal. The smart ones, they're living on and passing that genetics down to their offspring, and it's we almost got to have the scent hounds now to get anything up and moving. But the old ways still work sometimes, but it just ain't the same. But I also believe that there's a lot more hunters around, so they kind of just get used to gunshots and everything, that people being out there. By the time we get hunting them in the winter, there's been deer hunters, duck hunters, pheasant hunters. Everybody's walked past them and tried shooting at them and everything, and they're just so used to it, I think.
So we're going to diverge a little bit from the favorite dogs. This all ties into Streak, but what I want to know is this is one of the first opportunities we've had to have someone who's a scent hound, sight hound combo hunter. So give us a brief 5-minute breakdown of what you're doing exactly.
We'll go out early in the morning. Still kind of the same way. We'll drive around I'll be up before sunset, loaded, dogs exercised. We start looking around just for a coyote just walking around out along a fence line or something, and hopefully get lucky and get one by a road and get a turnout. Do that for a half hour, and nothing. We'll just start hitting sections that we got permission for. We'll just turn the scent hounds in there and let them do their work. And if they bring one out, awesome. And if not, we'll just catch them on the next road and load them up and go to the next section you got permission for and hit that one. Yeah, but when they get one going, it turns out good. They bring it right to the road, or sometimes back and forth in the section, and get to watch dogs work a little bit. And pretty fun to see. Is
Yeah, you say you're turning the greyhounds out in the open land as the coyote is driven out by the scent hounds.
Yep.
Gotcha.
A few people in our group, they have the rifles and stuff, but our group is mostly family. That most of us have stag hounds. A few of them have rifles and stuff, and depending on the situation, the guys with the rifles, sometimes if the dogs are far enough behind them, they'll shoot them or whatever. But if there's a rig there with stag hounds, they like to watch them run too. They love it. That they'll say, "Get up here and get a turnout. I want to watch those things run." And kind of just a family tradition.
Maybe I'm heavily biased, but there's nothing better than a speed race like that.
No. Yeah, having two different kinds of hounds, it's pretty fun too. You get to see two different types of dogs working, and that's the thing I enjoy most, is just watching the dogs work. And
absolutely,
being out there with friends and family and enjoying the wilderness.
Absolutely, that's what it's all about. Garrett, you've been a longtime fan and friend of Houndsman XP. You got the mic right now, brother. If there's anything you want to say to the Houndsman XP world, right now is your chance.
Just go out there, have fun, and everybody be respectful to the land and other hunters. Let's keep this tradition going for everybody, and don't mess it up. We got times coming where it's going to be hard, that we're going to have to fight to keep it going. We need everybody's help.
I couldn't agree more, and Houndsman XP is a big ally in that fight to keep free casting hounds legal. So, Garrett, thank you so much for joining me, brother. I really appreciate it, and we'll be talking soon.
Sounds good. Thank you.
You know what app I use on my phone more than any other app besides the podcast app to listen to this here podcast? I use OnX. OnX Maps is the most comprehensive mapping system for hunters on the market today. I use it all the time. When I was in New Mexico, I was looking at 40,000 acres of ranch that I needed to learn. I flip open OnX and just start studying the map. When I'm riding trails, I put the tracking app on. It helps me get around in strange country. I could mark water sources, food sources, bear sign, just all kinds of options within OnX. You need to check out OnX Maps by going to houndsmanxp.com. Click on the link on our sponsor page. You'll go right to OnX Maps, and when you check out, enter the code HXP20 and you will get 20% off of your order. Know where you stand with OnX.
Tell me your name and the name of your favorite dog of all time.
Kevin Hall, and favorite dog of all time. Well, this is tough to nail down, but we're going to have to go with a dog named Bluff Creek Toto.
Okay, what kind of dog was Toto? I'm going to make that short.
The plot.
Okay. Yep. And what game did Toto hunt?
Mountain lions and bears.
So
mostly lions.
Okay, yeah.
Toto came along at a time when I'd just gotten involved in some lion studies, helping some grad students and some biologists tracking mountain lions and putting radio collars on them and stuff like that. And the reason we were looking for a dog named Toto, it was a collaboration with a friend of mine named Kevin Allred. Kevin actually made the connection because he had been doing this for about 18 years, and he was using plots, but he needed the coldest nose tracking plot that he could find because this work required a lot of dry ground activities in the summertime, because typically we would go out in the wintertime and put radio collars on new lions that didn't previously have a collar. But at the time, those batteries in those collars were only good for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the summertime, they'd like to go out and do recaptures and put a fresh collar on. So it enabled you to hunt lions year round. But you needed a little different dog for that summertime work than you did for just tracking on snow. And that's what led us to the Bluff Creek dogs from Steve Hurd in Protection, Kansas. And so we got a couple of them out here at that time. And man, they worked out really well. It was the right dog at the right time in the right place. And Toto just excelled at the work. He had a distinction of catching a lion in all 12 months of the year on purpose.
Wow.
I say on purpose because oftentimes it'll happen that you catch a lion incidentally, maybe when you're bear hunting or something, you just end up on a lion. But to catch a lion on purpose in all 12 months was something that not too many Idaho dogs get to do.
That's the first time I've ever heard of that. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So tell me what do you think his best strengths were? What made him, what stood out among the pack in your eyes about the points of Toto that just made him the best?
Well, he had the nose for the job, but he had an aptitude about him that was different than the others. He just seemed to know where to go to find the game. When the chips were down and the tracks, disappeared, out in the sunshine and the heat, and or whatever conditions it might be, he just had a knack for figuring out where he needed to be to pick it back up again and move it further, because he was always the one that went out and did that.
Was he fast, or was he just honest?
It could be whether, like in the wintertime, like a cat went over the top of a ridge, or a pass, and the wind had blown all the tracks out, completely out, to where there just wasn't a track there, for tremendous distance. The cat was down on the other side of the mountain, but there was no track there to take him from your side over to the top to the other side where the track was, but he would go find it. Wow. He just knew that if he kept going in the same direction that he had been going, he just kind of knew where the cat was going to be. And
he had cat sense.
Just have a sixth sense about where to go. Yeah.
What year did you own him?
He was born in 92. So he was early 90s through 2000-ish.
Did you breed him?
Was the best of his career. No, he was bred by Steve Hurd in Protection, Kansas.
No. I mean, did you?
Oh, they were breeding other dogs. Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. 4 times to the same female, to a Salmon River bred female.
Wow.
And that really worked out well because back a couple of generations, they were all in the same Weems and hog type bloodlines, and so breeding it back together. Brought that together, and so that made for a really good cross. We made that cross 4 times.
Wow. Yeah, that must have worked.
We rode that horse all the way through the 2000s. Several really good dogs.
Wow.
We just kept going back to the same stuff. He was bred to another female once, a guy named Don Henderson. And this is interesting. Don Henderson from northern Idaho, and he had a 3-legged bear dog, a plot female, named Racy, that he really liked, and had heard about Toto, wanted to, and so anyway, the cross was made. And Don's like 12 hours away from here, and so he dropped her off and then picked her up a few weeks later and never to be seen again. had a litter of pups, and one of the pups that he had kept at 9 years old, going back to Steve Hurd, Steve had kind of lost some of his breeding at the time, and Steve was struggling to find his own blood, basically, searching, pedigrees and searching, all the corners of the country to see if he could get a dog that was from his breeding that he could breed back to. And he came upon, he found out, he'd heard about Don Henderson, and that Don had this dog, and it turned out that it was a dog, this dog named Butch. And Steve was able to get Butch from Don and used Butch to reinvigorate his entire breeding program. And so many of all the dogs that go by the Bluff Creek moniker, they're called a Bluff Creek dog, today, go back to Butch, and then which is back to Toto. So Toto actually had quite an impact on that little strain, within the breed. So
here's a tough question I like to ask. It's your favorite dog of all time, but nothing's perfect. Did he have any habits that annoyed you or anything you didn't like?
None of the Bluff Creek dogs really like to ride the rig. You'd put them up on top of the rig, and they would want to sit down, or they just didn't like it. They would strike out of the box just fine, but to put them on top of the box and drive around, they just didn't like it. And I had one of Toto's granddaughters, and she was the same way. She was a great dog, but none of them really liked to rig, and they're not all like that. But that was one thing about him that
interesting,
bit, but not that it's a horrible fault.
Yeah.
If you're picking on that, then you're doing pretty good. No, that'd be about it.
Tell me your favorite story with Toto. Tell me the moment you were just like, I love this dog.
Well, there were several of those, but there was one interesting story when a lion had come in and killed a bunch of sheep, 17 sheep in one night, about 20 down on Old Tom Mountain. And I write about Old Tom Mountain in my book. And so this lion piled up these sheep, and the government hunter wanted us to help him get this lion. And the sheep killing lions are tough to get, because if they come back in, well, anytime they're around the sheep, if you've ever been around, herds of domestic sheep where there's, 300, 400, 500 sheep in a band, the lion comes in and they just kind of contaminate the whole area, with urine and poop, and it just smells like sheep everywhere. So the lion comes in and walks through that, and he gets that on him, and so it's masking the lion's scent. So to go back in and try to catch a lion in that immediate area where there's a bunch of sheep is tough. But the sheep herder agreed to kind of keep all the sheep down in this draw until we could get this cat. And what we were hoping for was that the cat would come back to the kill site, because they were all out on this ridge. And so every morning my friend Jerry, for 3 mornings in a row, made loops around that sheep kill site, and never did get a track. And on the 4th day, I was able to go, and just because there probably wasn't a track there, that he didn't get it. But the line came back on like the 4th night, and that was the morning that I went down with the hunter, and so we pulled down into where the sheep herder's at, and there's the sheep wagon, and it's just cracking daylight, and the sheepdogs are there, and all these sheep are all over the place. And the sheep herder comes out of the wagon, and talked to him a little bit, and nothing had happened overnight, nothing alarming. And so we figured it's going to be another driver. And so we made a big loop, free casting around where all the sheep had been killed, and nothing had happened there. And so the hunter went back over to talk to the sheep herder, and I made a big loop around the whole herd. And I got almost all the way around when all of a sudden Toto struck hot and took off smoking out of there. And I went over to where he had struck, and there was another kill, a fresh kill from the night before, from that night.
Oh, dang.
Early that morning. So it's an interesting story about the lion, because the lion had been able to sneak in with all those sheep, hundreds of them.
Yeah.
The lion snuck in there, killed one of the sheep, drug it out to the perimeter, and was working on it. The sheep didn't know it, the dogs didn't know it, the herder didn't know it, but there it was. And anyway, Toto ran it and caught it, and the government hunter did what he had to do. And but that was an interesting day.
How long was the race?
That was dry ground. It was a dry ground hunt, really dry in September, is about as dry as it gets.
Wow. How long was the race?
Oh, maybe 3/4 of a mile.
Yeah, because the lion
probably fed on that sheep and wandered on down the draw and just kind of laid up, and he tracked it down there.
Nice.
Jumped it up and got it going and caught it. But,
that is so awesome.
That was an interesting day. Yeah. That was an interesting one.
It's funny how many dogs do you think you've owned in your life?
Not a tremendous amount for being in it for 50 years, because I've never really kept a lot of dogs at one time. I think 9 was the most I've ever had at one time, but I'm a lot more comfortable with 4, to tell you the truth. And so I've never had a lot of dogs, but there's been hundreds of dogs, come and go easily.
That's why I like to ask people like you these questions, because, it's one thing to ask someone like me. I've had 7, total, my entire hunting life. But when I ask someone like you who's had, that many over the years, when you say this one is good and you've been doing it for 50 years, what a good dog is for you, Right. And when you say, this dog had it all, how often do you think you get a dog like that in your life? Truly, if you have, let's say you have 100 dogs in your life, maybe 200 over the course of your entire life, how many dogs like Toto do you think appear truly?
Well, sadly, the percentages aren't that high. It's too bad that they're not higher, but it's just the right combination of breeding and timing, and the right dog being in the right place. But you can count them on one hand. Yeah. I knew that we were going to be talking about your favorite dog, and so I started writing down dogs that were on that list, and there's 7. that really stand out. But that's kind of generational too, in that, the first good dog that I had back in 75, I was 15 years old, so there's that first dog, that made a splash. Then there was my first plot, and then there was the first real plots that I had that were good ones, and then Toto, and then Toto's pups after that, and then Toto's granddaughter, and down to one of the dogs that I have now. So there's several that would be favorites, but few that were just as talented as Toto was.
And it sounds like
he knew kind of what you wanted to do. He knew what was going on, and he seemed to know why you were doing it and what made you happy. And he was just a great dog to be around.
I love dogs like that. I've enjoyed this series so much because I love just hearing the houndsmen talking about these beloved animals, and many of them are still alive. A lot of people that are saying their favorite dog of all time, they've been running for 20, 30 plus years, and they're like, my favorite dog of all time is still around. So it's really cool to kind of hear that. But also,
either that or they have short memories. Yeah.
I keep a very
cool. If you think you've got the best dog you've ever had right now, you're a lucky guy. You're doing good. But there's a curse to that, because you get on the other side of the best dog that you've ever had, and now you don't. When that dog's gone, now you're always looking to replace that or looking to find that magic again. And even though you've got good dogs, if they don't quite measure up, to a standard, then you're always searching for it. And that's not all bad.
I was going to say,
searching for it keeps you busy, keeps you looking, keeps you hungry, keeps you training. Yep. It's not all bad.
Improving.
That's right. Yeah. They're constantly evaluating.
It's really cool to hear that that dog was kind of a foundation of a lot of the stuff you have now. That's what's so cool, and that they've performed. They do really well.
Yeah, he was the dog that had the biggest impact.
That's awesome.
They had an interesting personality because they were kind of laid back dogs. The Bluff Creek dogs were really laid back, like around the house and in the kennel and with other dogs and with strange people and whatever you were going to do with them, they were a laid back dog, almost like a house dog. But then when you got them on a track or were hunting and then the prey drive kicked in, it was shocking to see what change there was in the dogs.
Sounds ideal. I mean, that's exactly how I like them.
Yeah. Oh, it's nice to have. Yeah, because it's nice to have that one because it's just easier to keep around the house.
Chris has one that I hunted with one of his plots that was just so chill when we're not hunting. And then that dog totally dominated that trip. It was super cool to see that.
Well, it's nice when you can get it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So, Kevin, I want to thank you so much for joining me, man. I really appreciate it. This was perfect. And if there's anything you want to say to the Houndsman XP world, you got the pulpit right now, brother.
Oh, well, I appreciate the invitation to talk a little bit about my old dog and just appreciate everything, our relationship with Houndsman XP, because we've kind of been with HXP from the start.
Yeah, you are the original
relationship.
Yes,
And
sir.
to remind people that our HXP 20 code is still active. So if you need anything from Dogs or Treed, that HXP 20 code at checkout will get you 20% off, and then HXP will get a little kick down from that as well, and just keeps things going.
And patrons listening to this right now, you get a discount that's even deeper. So check it out. Check it out, you guys, and come check out the Patreon page. By the time, if you're hearing this on Houndsman XP, the patrons have already heard it a long time ago. So they get a lot of this bonus content first and foremost, not to mention videos and bonus articles, recipes, and much more. So Kevin, thank you so much. Plug your book real quick, brother. I want you to plug your book.
Book's been selling fantastic. It was such a pleasure to be able to write that and get it out. Dogs, like there's a chapter on Toto in there actually, and some of the other favorite dogs that I'd put on this list, even the one from 75. There's a picture of me in 75 with boots and some trophies that we won at a field trial. Kind of cute. Look back at that. But it's a collection of stories about mountain lion hunting from the 70s to current time, and kind of from the perspective of the lion, because this lion makes the rounds throughout the state of Idaho and out of Montana and into the wilderness area, and he has adventures. But they're all real adventures that are based on something either that I was involved with or somebody that I knew, or it was connected to it in one way or another. So it's kind of a collection of all my lion hunting stories through the perspective of this wandering, meandering lion.
That is awesome. Yes, guys. Tracking the Long Walker. Go check it out, you guys. It's on Dogs Are Treed.
Yeah.
So, Kevin, thank you so much. I appreciate you joining me, brother.
All right. Thanks, Seth.
See ya.
Elite nutrition products are the hottest thing on the market right now for dog and horse owners. And Houndsman XP is a dealer. You can find all their products on our website at houndsmanxp.com. Over the past 5 years, you've tuned into this podcast, and I don't take it lightly. We have built a mutual trust, and when I recommend a product, it's because I believe in it, I use it, and I'm given my seal of approval for that. I'm putting my name on that. And with Elite Nutrition products, I do trust it. I do use it. I've seen great results with their essential dogs, their pre and probiotics, their tick-borne disease treatment. It's all natural. It's a great alternative to pharmaceuticals when used appropriately. If you expect extreme performance, you need Elite Nutrition. Available from houndsmanxp.com.
Tell me your name and the name of your favorite dog of all time.
Name is Joshua I, and the name of my favorite dog of all time would probably have to be Fort Run Hoss. And it's more of the breed of dog that I fell in love with less than Hoss himself. So he's a rabbit dog. He comes from the patch hound breed of rabbit dogs that they're one of the longest running strains in the United States. A man by the name of Willett Randall started the blood back in the late 1800s. So it's one of the longest line bred strain of hare/rabbit hounds that are currently still being bred today.
And when you say hare/rabbit hounds, what do you mean by that? Because I think you and I have a different meaning of a hare/rabbit hound.
All right. So you got your, he was in Maine. So, he hunted mainly, snowshoe hare. So that's where they were bred for those conditions. And then they've transitioned into the cottontails. People have bred them down, bred them around, kind of messed with them a little bit on their qualities and their genetics and all that. And they are, they've made that transition to cottontails. I'm here in West Virginia, and we do have some snowshoe hare, but they're in the higher elevations. But our population is mostly cottontail rabbit.
Nice. So these are beagles. I want to make sure people, because my harehounds are like a beagle on stilts.
I got you. Well, I tell you, these patch hounds are they're going to run. They're not going to fit in that category of your standard 13 or 15 inch beagle as far as AKC standards and that kind of stuff. I've got dogs right now that are probably in that range, but they also can range up to 18, 20 inches at the shoulder. So they can get a pretty good leg underneath of them.
How long have you been keeping beagles for?
Oh my goodness. Probably 30 years.
Okay.
Probably 30 years. 30 years I've probably been in and out of beagles and coon dogs. Dogs, it's, if dogs are in your blood, if it's bear dogs, coon dogs, I've had rabbit dogs, and rabbit dogs has just been kind of my niche over the years.
Maybe I'm biased, but I think the most fun I've ever had with scent hounds was beagle hunting for rabbits in the Pacific Northwest. That was so fun. It was amazing.
They're a blast. They are. They're those little animals. And this dog that I was talking about, this Hoss dog, he had no quit in him. That dog, I've put other dogs underneath the tailgate. They're relentless in the pursuit to catch the game, and he was the epitome of that. He wanted to please, and he was a smart dog. He sometimes was too smart for his own good.
How so? What does that mean?
He caught a lot of rabbits. He caught a lot of rabbits. So what he would do, in the beagle, in your hare world, you all probably like catching them, but we tend to chase back to the gun. But what he would do is, cottontail circle, and they're traditionally the circles get smaller as you're putting more pressure on them. The rabbit's trying to look for somewhere to hide, get out, holes or whatever. Well, he would cut the circle in half, and he would try to just slip in there and catch him. And at that point, he went from a scent hound to a sight hound. And he was really good at that. He was really good at that. So, you had to watch that too, because, you're gun hunting, you're used to the dogs being behind the rabbit. And then here you see this white streak cutting across the path of the rabbit. And, if you didn't watch, you could shoot a dog like that.
Yeah, that's true. I never thought of that. We never hunt with firearms and dogs combined. So, I always kind of forget about that aspect. You definitely don't want one right there.
No, and that's they're fast enough too that they're not, traditionally when we shoot a rabbit, dogs are probably less than 50 to 60, 70 yards behind the rabbit. So, they're putting the pressure on him. So you got to kind of, I try to take young kids, and I've always tried to tell them, there's not a rabbit alive worth one dog ever,
Absolutely.
and try to teach them this hunter safety. And, my rule of thumb with my boys, I've got 2 boys, is if you pull your gun up and you see the dogs anywhere in that purview, put your gun down. Don't even risk it. Especially with shotgun.
Yep.
You can not gonna say you would kill the dog, but you could burn him up and ruin him. That's
yeah. A guy I really respect once told me, his name is Steve Downs. He's been on the show. He said, anytime you go hunting and all the dogs come back healthy, it was a good day, no matter what happened out there.
Absolutely. And that's a point that I try to drive home with all these youngsters that I take nowadays. I'm trying to get these guys into it because it's going to be one of those sports that if we're not careful, it's going to be to the wayside.
Absolutely. So what year did you own this dog?
This dog he was born in 1997.
Oh,
so yes,
okay.
sir. He was,
vintage.
So he lived to be 12 years old. So, and he was a natural starter. So he started like 6, 7. He was circling his own rabbits at 6, 7 months old. We started killing rabbits off of him probably around the year-old mark. And, he ran up until the day he died. And it was just one of those situations where you couldn't ask for a better scenario. We went running one day, come home, put the dogs up, went back out the next day to feed, and he was curled up in the back of his box, and he had passed away in his sleep. So, I was like, man, that's kind of how I want to go hunt, and come home, go to sleep. Yeah. So he was a good one.
Tell me the story, if you can think of one where the moment you were just like, this dog rules. This is my favorite dog of all time.
Okay. Well, that's easy. I can remember it like it was yesterday. I used to, my uncle used to take me hunting, and, he had a pack of bagels, and of course that's where I got my love from. And I always wanted to beat Uncle Steve. I always wanted to beat his dogs. And I met a man we used to run the trial circuit, the ARHA trial circuit years ago. And I met a man by the name of Jim Campbell, and he's the one that told me about these patch dogs. He said, you get one of them patch dogs. He said, you'll be able to stay up with Uncle Steve anytime, anywhere. So I got him, and we were going and got him trained up and all that good stuff. And we were hunting a property that we had, and we were just, it was overlooking a bluff, and down in the real thick bottom. And I can remember one of my uncle's dogs jumped the rabbit, and they broke out of there, and it was real thick. And well, they busted out of the thicket. I seen the rabbit coming down the Flint's line, and it was just picture perfect. That's all these years, I wish I'd have carried video cameras and stuff and recorded what we see. And I just seen him. He started charging and he was just stroking. And next thing I know, all the other dogs, 15, 20, 25 yards, they were falling behind. They just couldn't. And next thing I know, they're shutting up because they're trying to pull up to him because he's locked in on this rabbit. And at this point, he was probably around 15, 16 months old. And I'll never forget, my uncle looked over at him and he said, my God, he said, that white bastard can fly, can he? And I said, I'm telling you right now, I said, yes, sir. And from that day forward, that was my reckoning. I would have been a young 19, 20-year-old boy at that point. And I felt like I graduated into the club then.
Absolutely. What a great feeling.
And it was. And by the end of the day, I think we killed 6 or 7 rabbits that day. But at the end of the day, they're predominantly white. And by the end of the day, he looked like you dipped him in red paint because he was just that bloody and that tore up from running that hard and going through the briars.
Yeah, that was the thing I learned, that those little guys, they actually, the tips of their tails and their faces get really scratched up. The tips of their tails because they wag so much when they're hunting.
And he actually had a stub tail because he beat his. I banded it. We used calf band on it because it was, it had, the bone was sticking out. So we just banded that sucker and tied it off, and it eventually fell off. But yeah, that's a Beagle trait. Usually if you see a Beagle, his ears are scratched up, face is scratched up, and his tail's beat to pieces.
Yeah, it's amazing how gritty those little dogs really are. I mean, what I loved about it is it's like all the fun of scent hound hunting on a huge scale, but instead it's on a teeny tiny scale. We were able to see all the action right in front of us.
Yeah, and I think that was why I fell in love with it, because of what you just said. I love my coon dogs. I ran coon dogs there for a long time too, in between Beagles, and I always kept a couple Beagles, but I got pretty big into competition coon hunting and all that good stuff on the local circuit here, and it's just you don't get to see the work of you get to hear the work of a coon dog. You don't get to see the work of a coon dog. These Beagles, I stay right with them. I don't, even now, I don't just sit on the tailgate. I like watching them work. I like seeing which one is actually putting the work in and which one. So, I put a lot of miles on my legs because I don't have to, but that's what I enjoy about it. I like being right there with them and like seeing what they're doing and who's doing what. And seeing that grittiness and desire come out in them.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, as a sighthound hunter, it's obvious I love watching them do their thing. So when I'm any kind of dog hunting, my favorite kind of dog hunting is where I can see the dogs hunt. I want to watch it.
Yeah, and I told my wife, I actually, through your all's podcast, the Houndsman XP and whatnot, I've started watching the sight chasing and stuff like that. And I said, oh my, I could get into that real quick. I said, with them birds and the sight that chasing them things, man, I'm telling you, that would probably be like another drug for me.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I'm a full blown addict. That feeling when a hare gets up and takes off across the wide open prairie, and there goes those dog cheetahs thundering after him at full steam. It's electric, man. It's electric.
It's impressive, and that is it's fun to watch.
So, well, what's even more fun to watch is when you're, maybe debatable, right? But when I was sitting, this was so cool. We were sitting in a park when we were beagle hunting, and we could hear the beagles trailing, and then this rabbit runs out, and we could hear the beagles are right on him, and then all 10 of them just come thundering out of the brush, and it was cool because it's like rabbit, beagles.
Yep. Yes, sir.
And he's like, I don't shoot them anymore. David's been hunting them forever. He's like, He's like, I just like to watch the dogs. He's like, I try to shoot them with a bow every now and then, but yeah, he's like, whatever, And it was cool because I was blown away, and this is where I'll leave it because everyone's heard me talk about the beagles a million times. It's super fun, but what blew me away is they can catch the rabbit.
Yes.
The beagles caught a Pacific brush rabbit, and they caught a cottontail, which I thought was so cool, and they brought it back, which was awesome.
Yeah, and that's a pretty good. He must have one of the faster lines of beagles, because that's really what's cool about beagles too. They are so versatile, and so there's so many different classifications with it in the beagles. Like, you've got the walkie-talkie beagles that just boop, 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 brace, they walk, bark. Some guys love that. Then you've got the ones that are just a little bit faster that maybe run. And then you get up to what, like his dogs and my dogs that are actually chasing down, overpowering, a wild animal like that. We don't think of a rabbit as, but that rabbit, he fights for his life every day. So, he, from the air, from the ground, he's never, ever got probably a moment of relaxation in his life. So, you know, for you to be able to put a pack of beagles together like that can work together to actually catch rabbits, when you start doing that, you've got yourself a pretty special pack, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Well, man, I want to thank you so much for joining us
Yes,
for the
sir.
segment. It's always been a pleasure, and I like to represent a really diverse section of the hound hunting community. So thank you, Joshua, for joining us.
Yes, sir.
I really appreciate it, buddy. Thanks.
Thank you.